Let it go, let it go, can't hold it back anymore. Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, I'll be reacting to one of the videos from the YouTube channel The Game Theorists, and it's about Frozen. So let's get started. Let's go. This video came out in 2019, so I think it's around 2 years ago.
This might be a good spot to find some ingredients.
What? How could you possibly think that?
What the?
Ugh, this is so dumb. And those are not truffles. There is no chance that I'm eating this.
Oh, but you will, MatPat. Haha.
Mouse. I should have known you were behind this. What are you gonna do? Hold me down and force feed them to me?
Oh, no, nothing so barbaric. But I did hide one of the best keyblades behind that stupid cooking minigame, so...
No! They're talking about Ratatouille! Oh my gosh!
Oh, if you want to 100% this game, and I know you do, you'll eat those mushrooms! Haha! You'll eat every last one of them! And if that's not enough, you'll have to do basic tier quick time events before that. Crack that egg, MatPat. Whoops, too gentle. Whoops, too hard. Crack it, MatPat. Over and over and over again.
No, not that. Anything but that. No! Internet, welcome to Game Theory.
Hello! Hello everyone, welcome to Game Theory. Hello. I really like the intro though, the intro was very interesting.
The show with a spin-off that covers movies, Disney movies. And so you'd think that I would have covered Kingdom Hearts long before now, but if I can be real with you guys for a second, this series kinda scares me. The deep lore of Kingdom Hearts is so complex that it makes Scott Cawthon's storytelling seem straightforward. And even if I could tell the difference between a Keyblade and a Keyblade...
You see Keyblade and a Keyblade? The frustration.
The places this story have gone to are so out there that no theory I could come up with would be anywhere near as surprising as what Tetsuya Nomura has already done. Furthermore, say I was able to concoct some sort of incredible lore theory like proving how Sora was actually Xehanort the whole time, it'd take at least 2 episodes just to explain enough of the necessary background to get everyone here to appreciate it in the first place. Anyway, the straight talk here is that this is a series that I really enjoy, and it's something that I've wanted to do a theory on for a long time. And with the release of Kingdom Hearts 3, or is it 2.9?
Olympus Coliseum, here we come!
God, whatever. I finally have a theory on this game that literally anyone can appreciate. No backstory required. Because buried in the code of Kingdom Hearts 3 are the fragments of a hidden level. And today, I'm gonna expose the lost stage that Disney didn't want us to see.
Oh my god. What? There's a hidden level? Gosh. Now that's interesting.
Now, for those of you who've never played the game, let me quickly catch you up. We play as Sora, who's torn apart from his best friends Riku and Kairi when a mysterious darkness swallows up their island home. Masters and trusts each of his multiverse with Terra and Aqua are the three apprentices of mysterious young girl Rabbit Terra knows part of trying to make knowledge from the group journal Mouse inserting greeting and art into the Sora that Sora calls Data Sora. Okay, so maybe trying to summarize this was a bad idea. Look.
Yeah, maybe summarize is a bad idea because it's a very big story, so
Look, all that matters, and honestly all that ever should have mattered, is that you're a cheerful, spiky-haired anime boy named Sora who travels the Disney Final Fantasy multiverse with Donald, Duck, and Goofy, thwarting the evil plans of less cheerful anime boys and girls in black trench coats who are sometimes clones, all while saving Disney characters from weirdly cute monsters called the Heartless, and learning important lessons about friendship and love along the way. And Cage...
Aww. Friendship, love, and some ingredients lah, but friendship, love, spread the positivity.
3 is basically more of the same, with new Disney worlds ranging from Big Hero 6 to Tangled to Toy Story. But out of all the Disney worlds we visit across the series, one in particular has gotten a bunch of flack from both fans and critics. Arendelle, the world of Disney's breakout musical hit Frozen. Now, playing through it, it's not hard.
Oh no, this is back in Frozen 1, alright? The first Frozen movie, not Frozen 2.
To see why this level is so disliked. It forces players to climb up a mountain just so they can immediately be knocked back down once they reach the summit. Then it makes them climb back up to the top, only to do it yet again. You get to the top of this mountain and you get to do nothing. And if that doesn't sound tedious enough, you don't even get to join forces with Elsa, or Kristoff, or any of the film's actual heroes. Instead, the only Frozen character that actually joins your party is Marshmallow, Elsa's snow golem, who only really shows up at the end of the level for the final boss fight. In a game series that's used its Disney properties really well in the past, it is a massive disappointment to see such an iconic Disney franchise used so poorly.
Yeah, that's true. It's very rare to see them use such a good good franchise so poorly. Maybe they were just trying to let it go, let it go. Let it go.
But I don't think that this was ever the game developer's intent. No, it's my theory that a different Frozen level existed, but got cut from the game at the last minute, resulting in the boring, repetitive, cobbled-together mess of Arendelle that we eventually play through in the final version of the game. And that's not me just blowing smoke. I think we can piece together what that level looked and played like using clues left in the game from that initial design. Today, we are piecing together the incredible Frozen level that the game devs tried to give us, but that Disney axed before the game's final release.
Ship it. Nope. Ship it.
First clue that this isn't the level the developers intended is in how different Arendelle feels relative to all the other levels in the game. Heck, relative to the other levels in the entire series. Kingdom Hearts 3 makes a point of connecting the story of every other world directly into Sora's character arc, letting the Disney characters influence him just as much as he influences them. Hercules teaches him how to get back up after a defeat and believe in himself again. Meeting Woody and Buzz and hearing about Andy's love of them reaffirms the faith he has in his own friends. Even Corona, which mostly follows the plot of the Tangled movie, draws parallels between Sora's first adventures off of Destiny Islands and Rapunzel's first exposure to the outside world. But Arendelle? The characters barely interact with Frozen's cast or plot, except to bluntly restate what the audience just watched in a cutscene.
That was Elsa?
She's different.
And a lot happier, too.
And don't even get me started on the songs. 3 huge Disney musicals made it into Kingdom Hearts 3, but Frozen is the only one to feature a full CGI recreation of one of its iconic musical numbers. Let It Go,
Wow.
if you couldn't guess. I mean, Kingdom Hearts has included musical numbers before. I still have vivid war flashbacks to that Little Mermaid stage. But it's never been like this. It also includes a fragment of Do You Wanna Build a Snowman, but for some reason, Anna talks over it the entire time. It's almost like the team was contractually obligated to include these songs, but couldn't find a way to organically work them in. The whole
It's like the game developers, and then it's like put this in. A bit difficult.
thing reeks of a creative conflict between the games team and the Disney Frozen brand team. But to me,
A bit challenging.
the strangest bit, and the one that really set off my theorist senses to want to look into this in the first place, is Arendelle's villain, Hans, who is never introduced, never speaks, heck, we never even really get to see his face.
That's Elsa. But who's that guy?
Oh no!
Darkness?
That is literally his first appearance 2/3 of the way through the level. The next time we see him is here. And now he's passed out, and now he's a portal. Now he's an ice wolf, and now I'm just confused. Now you, like me, might at first think that this is all the result of Disney forcing Square to include their most successful animated musical into the game. But Tetsuya Nomura has gone on record to say that that was not the case. Quote, "Usually when we think about making a game, we choose from works already available to the public. However, for Frozen, when we were selecting the worlds, Disney showed us the preview before it was finished, and we liked it enough to continue the discussion to included in the game. We decided on the inclusion before the movie was premiered, so we were lucky that it was a huge success.
Oh, true. Planning is important. Management is important.
End quote. Frozen was already planned for the game when it was announced at E3 2013, before anyone knew what a success the film would be, which suggests that Nomura had more reason to include Frozen in the game than sheer marketability. It suggests that he had a legitimate story to tell with it. So what happened? Well, in an interview with US Gamer, Nomura mentions that one of the biggest differences in working on Kingdom Hearts 3 is that many of the teams who made the films they adapted for the game are still around, which meant that his team was getting feedback from more people and had tighter guidelines to follow in regards to what they could and couldn't do. And according to Nomura, Frozen had the most guidelines of any world.
Oh, no wonder there's so much creative restrictions. Like me as a content creator, I can understand that sometimes being restricted is a bit frustrating.
Which makes sense. It is Disney's biggest animated franchise outside of Pixar. And as we just learned, they were gearing up to tease the sequel right around the time of Kingdom Hearts' release. It's likely they didn't want to risk anything that might spoil audiences' perception of these characters, or the Frozen brand. Either motivation would explain the world's overly rigid adherence to the plot of the first film, and the jarring inclusion of all those hit musical numbers. But that leaves us with a bigger question here. If that isn't the story that Tetsuya Nomura wanted to tell, then what is?
Oh, it's like, no. Do you wanna build a franchise?
For us, I think there are some remnants of the world's original story left in the game, and by piecing together those anomalies, I think we can form a picture of what was lost to Disney's meddling. Let's go back to Hans, the villain of the level, who again, doesn't speak. There's one other notable Disney character who conspicuously shows up without uttering a single line in this game, Phil from Hercules. But for Phil, there's a good reason for it. Ichiro Nagai, Phil's Japanese voice actor, died back in 2014, and Square chose not to recast him as a show of respect. Eisuke Suda, the Japanese voice of Hans, is very much alive, and looking at his Twitter profile, it doesn't seem like he has anything against Hans as a character. And considering that everyone else from Frozen's English cast reprised their roles in this game, it seems unlikely that Square couldn't get access to Hans's voice actor. So why then would Hans have no speaking lines in the game, when every other Disney villain who makes an appearance gets a chance to antagonize Sora? I mean, half the fun of these games is watching the bad guys ham it up. Well, maybe the reason that the main villain of Arendelle has no speaking lines is that he was never supposed to be the main villain of Arendelle in the first place. Maybe Hans was brought in at the last minute to replace a villain that Nomura was no longer allowed to use.
Wait a minute. It's like, who was the original villain? Don't tell me it was...
That would explain another inconsistency. Every other time we see something in the world turn into a boss, there's an animated cutscene that shows the transformation. When Mother Gothel turns into a Heartless, we see her cloak engulfed, and the body parts of the Grim Guardianess emerge. We see evil Baymax form out of the data cubes. We watch the pile of rubble in Monstropolis come to life to become the boss Unversed. But with Hans, a black portal just appears out of nowhere underneath Goofy, Donald, and Sora, and when they come out on the other side, the monstrous Ice Wolf skull is already taking shape in front of them. There's no physical continuity between Hans and the boss, but there's also no thematic continuity here either, and that's probably more important. I mean, sure, the story of Frozen involves a lot of ice, but Hans is from the southern country.
True, Hans was not from Arendelle, you know? What the? Did he mess up? Or...
no connection to any of that. Turning Hans into an ice wolf makes no sense. Unless, of course, again, Nomura's team took the existing Heartless transformation sequence from another character and inserted Hans into it after the fact. So then, who was originally intended to be Arendelle's true villain?
Please don't tell me that it was that character. Please don't.
Elsa. Her ice powers would make a fun boss fight on their own, and they give her a much clearer connection to the design of an ice-powered, heartless boss. But more importantly, Elsa as the villain works thematically.
No, come on! Like, seriously, no! there's so much girls that like, there's so much guys that like, there's so much children that like this movie, this franchise. Don't ruin it. Come on.
Early on in the stage, Organization 13 member Larkseen says this.
Okay, I'll admit, Elsa is a person of interest to us. What if it's dark magic?
Elsa would never rely on the darkness.
Actually, it's still too early to call. Depends on how she sees it. If she believes her magic is darkness, that's what it will become. So what will Elsa accept? Light or darkness? I know I want to know.
In the game we got, this is a throwaway line. The idea that Elsa's conflicted about her powers, about whether they're good or evil, is never brought up again until Larkseen appears at the end of the stage to say, oh well, I guess she chose good. But if the story actually followed this internal...
well, she said she's good. Yay.
struggle of light and darkness within Elsa, where the final Ice Wolf boss breaks free, representing her repressed anger and fear about her powers, now we have something that makes a lot more sense, not just in the level, but in the context of Kingdom Hearts as a series. One of the major underlying themes of the Kingdom Hearts series is the human heart's potential to house both good and evil, and Elsa is one of the only Disney characters who straddles that line. I mean, in the original draft of Frozen, Elsa was intended to be the villain, and it just took several rewrites for the film's producers to realize that she worked better as an anti-hero of sorts. In the film, sure, she's
something like Frozen, Deadpool. Gosh, what am I saying? Oh gosh, what am I saying?
saved from the darkness within her by the love of her sister. But with a little bit of prodding from Organization 13, it would totally make sense for her character to fall into despair and take on the villainous role that she always had the potential to fill, with Sora, Donald, and Goofy having to fight to save her from that darkness so she can be the hero she was always meant to be. It also totally makes sense why Disney and the creative team behind Frozen would shut down that idea. Elsa is one of their most popular characters and a role model for tons of young girls. There is a ton of potential controversy in portraying her as a bad guy, but it's also not just the boss that starts to make a lot more sense with Elsa as the villain. It's also the level design. The ice labyrinth that Larkseen traps you in at the start of Arendelle's story is the biggest anomaly in this world, which might as well be the single most out-of-place thing in a Kingdom Hearts game, period.
Yes, because it was like you must know that it was oddly big but not used much, which is weird, you know, like normally boss fight will have such a big place.
That's saying a lot because this game also expects us to play Puzzle Bobble with Winnie the Pooh. This ice labyrinth literally comes out of nowhere. 1 second, Donald, Sora, and Goofy are being walled in by Larkseen's ice. The next, they've somehow appeared into a deep underground maze. And after fighting their way out of it, they just come out of a random portal on the side of the mountain? Not only is there no place in Frozen's world that behaves this way, there's just no real basis for random portal dungeons appearing in Kingdom Hearts either. It feels as though this section was taken out of another game and slapped into the middle of the level, and it's my belief that it kinda was.
So it was like, pya. Ouch.
Notice the architecture of this area. There's only one place in Frozen that has architecture like we see in the dungeon, Elsa's Ice Palace. When you finally reach the top of the labyrinth, you find yourself in a central tower surrounded by 3 platforms that are clearly very high up in the sky, which is a strange way of portraying the exit to an underground dungeon. But it makes perfect sense if this is supposed to be the spire of a castle, Elsa's castle. Stranger still is the fact that those 3 platforms have nothing on them. One path leads to an empty room full of enemies, while the other leads to a random pile of rocks with a hidden Mickey emblem. The design of this area screams that there's supposed to be something significant up here, but it's really just nothing. Empty rooms and an exit. There are obvious signs that this area is either unfinished or that something, like a boss fight, was taken out of it.
True. See, as I mentioned before, it looks like a boss fight, boss stage.
correct. But the clincher here is that if you can stomach climbing all the way back up the mountain a third time, you'll see that the interior of Elsa's castle appears on the map. But when you actually try to approach it, an invisible wall blocks your way. It's exactly what would happen if, at one point, the castle was supposed to be an explorable area, but was instead scrapped and used elsewhere, like say an out-of-nowhere ice dungeon. Building a level like this takes a lot of time and money, so if Disney truly axed this whole storyline, Nomura's team would have had to scramble to repurpose as much of the work that they'd done as possible to find a way to fit it into the final game. That is the only way to make sense of these otherwise baffling bits of level design. Speaking of baffling level design, the final section of the level involves hiding behind cover to avoid being blown back by the raging winds of a blizzard. It's an odd section that has no real link to what's going on in the story, but what makes it even stranger is that, for some reason, the blizzard is blowing you uphill, something that very cold air tends not to do on account of, you know, the laws of physics.
I get it, because the apple, okay, so Newton, apple, pew, gravity downwards, not upwards, alright? So, the more you know, including the lightning just now, so, yeah.
But also by the laws of video games. Snowstorms are always blowing you down the mountain as you try to climb it. Chrono Trigger, Majora's Mask. It would make a lot more sense if, instead of going downhill, your party were fighting the winds of Elsa's blizzard as they climbed back up towards her palace. Again, a moment that feels repurposed to account for some sort of last-minute changes. And finally, there's Marshmallow, Elsa's ice golem creation. He is easily the most underutilized guest party member in the entire game, considering by the time he joins up with you, all that's left to do is clear 2 short areas of the map and fight the boss. Elsa being planned as the world's villain, though, would explain his late arrival, because then he would now be fighting alongside you through the entire palace dungeon.
Oh, that does make sense. His theory makes sense. That theory does make a lot of sense.
Making him a heck of a lot more useful. It would also explain his last-second heroism at the end of the boss battle, where he stands in front of Sora and the team to protect them. It's unusual that these cutscenes focus so much on him. Unusual until you consider that he's Elsa's creation, something that she gave life to. So let's say that Elsa is conflicted about the darkness or lightness of her abilities, just like Larxene mentions in those random lines from earlier. And then, due to the prodding of Organization 13, Elsa gives in to the dark potential of her powers, with that darkness being manifested by the Ice Wolf. Marshmallow choosing to put himself in danger to protect others would be the last thing to help snap her out of her icy rage, helping her realize the goodness of what she can do. She has the ability to give life. She has the ability to bestow love and empathy and self-sacrifice. It actually parallels what happens with Anna in the movie. An innocent puts themselves in harm's way for the safety of others, causing Elsa to come to her senses, tame the wolf, and finally accept her powers as a force for good. The end. Level over. Let's puzzle bobble with Winnie the Pooh.
True. My god. That's quite a touching story. Oh my gosh. I'm actually crying. Oh my gosh, I'm actually crying. Oh gosh. Right, focus. Right. Let's continue.
Based on the dangling threads left in, the dialogue, the level design, the themes, and the story beats, it seems like all the pieces were in place for a much more solid version of Arendelle. Instead, what we got was a cobbled together confusing mess, most likely due to the meddling of brand management teams. And isn't that the ironic twist here? That in Disney's presumed quest to protect the brand, they actually do more harm to it than good, tarnishing it, attaching it to something that could have told a cool story, but instead just looks sloppy. Sometimes it's best not to meddle.
Oh no! Olaf! No!
But hey, that's just...
Well, teacher says she won't raise your F to an A+. Uh-oh, looks like we're going to have to do something.
A theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. And now that you know everything there is to know about the Frozen level that Disney censored, check out my prediction theory on what exactly Frozen 2 is all about.
Which, fun fact, Frozen 2 came out, yeah, right now in the year 2021. yeah, root for preference.
Feel pretty confident that we've cracked this little nut. So impress your friends with the foreknowledge of what Disney's biggest animated sequel is gonna be all about. That link is right here and it is brand new. Help complete that Frozen watch session. Give me those retention minutes. Remember, just by watching, you're helping me in the algorithm.
Same. Just by watching, you're helping me with the algorithm. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you do like this video, please consider to watch more of their videos from the YouTube channel, the Game Series. And if you do like it, please consider to like, share, and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you've had it, share with us, do remember to follow my channel as well. Do remember it's like, share, subscribe, comment, follow, and I'll see you next time. But hey, that's just a theory, a game theory. Thanks for watching. Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much. Let it go, let it go, can't hold it back anymore. Let it go, turn away and slam the door. Thank you, thank you so much.